5 Central African time, and we're coming to you live from Johannesburg in South Africa. Despite progress being made by law enforcement and anti-human trafficking civil organizations to combat human trafficking, there are increasing cases of children, women and men being smuggled into South Africa and beyond the borders. According to the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development, in the last year, 74 people were rescued from human trafficking, most of them women, children and young people under the age of 25. And to highlight the serious dangers and human rights violations of human trafficking, World Day Against Trafficking in Persons is observed today. And to talk more about the work being done in the fight against human trafficking, we are joined by a former South African Interpol Ambassador, Andy Mashaile. Andy, good afternoon and thank you for joining us on Africa Update.
Jambo, jambo, Lulu, and to all Africans listening in on the station.
Now, Andy, according to the Department of Justice, in the last year, 74 people were rescued from trafficking, most of them women, children and young people under the age of 25. How dire is this situation? And is this an accurate number?
Lulu, this is a very serious situation. Human beings must never be taken to be goods that will be taken from one point to the other without their consent, number one. Number two, the stats that we pick up with regards to this human trafficking disease and satanic deeds by those who are involved in what you and I refer to as modern day slavery. We will go into the details as this interview progresses. The numbers are the numbers that have been reported, the known numbers. Why am I saying so, Lulu? Remember those people who were found in a house in Lombardy and subsequently in one of the suburbs in Johannesburg of Ethiopian origin, who could not even speak one or two languages, except for the young man who was able to speak English to communicate. These are only the cases that we know. We didn't know of the cases in Lombardy that they are here. We didn't know of the cases in the Johannesburg suburb. I am trying to bring our listeners to an understanding, Lulu, that these are the only reported cases that we know of. Maybe after this conversation, we will learn in the next few weeks or next few months that there's a group of people that has been found somewhere else who are victims of human trafficking. So these are only the numbers that we know that have been reported. Many more might be in the backyard of suburb A or suburb B.
Now, the South African government has identified ports of entry as strategic points vulnerable to trafficking syndicates. How important is it to strengthen resources at airports and harbours to intercept trafficking activities and support victims?
It's very crucial and critical that we look into our ports of entry using technology. It is also very, very important for me, Lulu, as a security strategist. It is very important that we deal with the issue of corrupt individuals or officials at our port of entry. Number three, it is very, very important that we deploy intelligence operatives, particularly at those countries that have been identified as hotspots as per the reports on human trafficking 2025 and 2024, 2024-2025, and go into those areas and learn from the law enforcement agencies in those areas of the rings, syndicates that are into human trafficking. Lulu, it's sad for you and I to be talking about human trafficking And on the flip side of that coin, to be talking about people who are syndicate operators, who are the masterminds of syndicate operators, who are what you and I can say, they are the drivers of modern day slavery. I have had dealings with the CNN Freedom Project, where young kids have been victims of human trafficking, and many women and many others, blind people from Zimbabwe who are forced to come and back by our freeways and byways. You think you're giving them money only to realize that the human trafficking syndicate is using those blind people and those women and the children that we see at these points, using them for criminal activity. So we have a responsibility to penetrate those syndicates from the point of origin. We know the hotspots, and the whole world knows the hotspots. Interpol knows the hotspots. Local law enforcement agencies know the hotspots because they have intelligence that speak to human trafficking.
Now, Andy, you just highlighted something that's very key. It is known that syndicates operators or the heads of these human traffickers. And then you touched on something about that we see on a daily basis wherever you drive, the blind person who is being assisted by somebody else, or the wheelchair-bound person who's assisted by somebody else. And then the women who sit there at different intersections with children. Police cars driving past on a daily basis. It is known that these people are stationed at these different intersections. Nothing happens. Why is this the case? Why do police turn a blind eye on a situation that has now become a crisis on literally almost every intersection? In Johannesburg, let me speak for that.
Lulu, the seriousness of your question says I should respond in this following manner. One, to law enforcement agencies, be them your National Traffic Police, be them JMPD, be them EMPD, TMPD, Tshwane MPD, your South African police services. To them, that's something very, very minute. To them, it's a small little incident. And quickly going to the second part of my response. Because law enforcement agencies don't spend time doing data analytics, analyzing the data. How many do we see by this intersection? How many did we see by the next intersection? How many kids? What language have they been speaking? We have been very, very slow. Particularly in my home country, South Africa, we have been very slow in collecting intelligence so that it can be properly analyzed, so that we can follow them, so that you and I can be deployed to say, every morning when that gentleman or that lady arrives in a wheelchair, find out who gives them water, find out who gives them food, find out in the evening the car that they climb into going back to where they sleep. Go and tell us what house number is this, what street, what suburb, so that you can then have a map, Lulu, that tells you this is where they move from, this is where they go, this is so much that they make, this is so much, this is the particular person who picks them up. Who is guarding them at the intersections? At those intersections, there is someone who sits very far away from them. Some of them do have binoculars. Some of them communicate with them via cell phones. These blind people, we see the young men helping the old men. Both of them are forced victims of human trafficking who must collect money. In the evening, it gets counted. Where is this money being counted? How much is being made? We can only do that when law enforcement agencies, including municipal police, collect intelligence on these people.
With the establishment of the Border Management Authority in South Africa, would you say they have made a dent on human trafficking?
They have indeed made a dent on human trafficking. I remember last year, 2024, 2025 stats suggested that only at Easter, either 2025, about 700, 300, if not 700,000 people. I can't remember those stats exactly, but it's over 300,000 people who were turned back at border posts, suggesting that even those who might have been willing to be brought into the country, those who are smuggled, those who paid to come over the border, were turned back. And those who were turned over the border might also had been driven by their families being put under gunpoint in their home countries to say, you will cross the border. As long as your willingness and your permission has been taken away from you, you are now forced to go into another country. So the Border Management Authority, with their faults, also have created a huge impact. I'm not going to take away some of the weaknesses of the BMA, of individuals who were arrested. I think at a certain stage, 78 were arrested and 13 were put on suspension without pay for criminal activities, either of allowing people who are not supposed to be here to be here.
Well, Andy, it's always a pleasure chatting to you, and thank you so much for joining us on Africa Update. We'll leave it there for today.
Get the new